I'm Matthew Moniz, and this is the Lenovo IdeaPad Y900 gaming laptop. It's a 17-inch gaming laptop, which was actually announced by Lenovo back in January during CES. In fact, it was actually supposed to be out in July, but it ended up coming out in September. Now, I've been using this laptop for over a month, and it pretty much nails everything I want in a gaming laptop, except for one thing. So here's my review. Let's start off with the design. The top of the laptop is made out of all metal with a beautiful pattern going across it. The Lenovo red Y is in the middle and it lights up every time you turn the laptop on. It also has these indents going down the middle, which gives the whole laptop a car hood look to it. I personally prefer the way this laptop looks compared to other gaming laptops on the market. It's a little bit more sleek and it's not as in your face. Now the cool thing is the bottom of the laptop is also metal, which is a big change considering most other gaming laptops use a plastic bottom. However, the deck of the laptop is made out of rubber, so your hands grip the deck a little bit better, and it also does a better job of not attracting fingerprints. The Y900 weighs 10.1 pounds, which is heavier than most 17-inch gaming laptops, so it's going to be heavier than the Alienware 17, but about the same size as the Asus G752 OC edition. In terms of ports, on the right you have a full-size SD card slot, a microphone jack, a headphone jack, two USB 2.0 ports, and a Noble lock. On the left there's two USB 3.0 ports, one USB Type-C port, a gigabit Ethernet connection, one HDMI port, one display port, and a power connector. It also comes with an external DVD-ROM that you can hook up to your laptop. To get inside, all you have to do is remove 12 screws and pull off the bottom lid. Once you're inside, you can see there's an 8100 mAh battery at the top, two PCIe SSD slots on the left, one is empty which can be used for an additional drive, and the other is filled with a Samsung P951 NVMe drive. The read and write speeds are really good and much better than other NVMe drives I've tested in competing laptops. The other hard drive is to the right and it's a regular 5400 RPM hard drive. It's a little slow and I would have preferred that Lenovo put a 7200 RPM hard drive instead. Now the RAM is upgradable, however there is 16 gigabytes soldered onto the motherboard or it's just not accessible. But there are two empty slots available. You can potentially put up to 48 gigabytes of RAM into this laptop. Overall, there's enough space for future expansion. Now there's only one model to choose from and it comes with an Intel i7-6820HQ CPU, a 17.3-inch FHD LED IPS anti-glare display, a GTX 980M graphics card, 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, one 256 gigabyte PCIe SSD, and one 1 terabyte 5400 RPM hard drive. This unit retails for $2,500 US. The display is Full HD with an anti-glare screen, but it's not matte like most other gaming laptops. The brightness levels are good, it gets fairly bright, and the sRGB spectrum sits at 92%, which is great for viewing images on the web. However, the Adobe RGB rating, which is the standard for photography, sits at 72%, so you'll get a great viewing experience, but not the best display for professional work. The panel refresh rate is at 75 Hz and supports G-Sync, so you'll have very little or any screen tearing. Above the display is a full HD camera and it's nothing special. The color reproduction was decent, but it's very noisy. The keyboard has to be one of my favorite features about the Lenovo Y900. It's an actual full-fledged mechanical keyboard, which is very rare on a gaming notebook. Especially when you combine that with Lenovo's U-shaped keys, you're gonna get one of the best experiences for typing and for gaming on a laptop. There's also a numeric keypad on the right and macro keys to the left. The key travel distance is also a nice beefy 3.1 millimeters. Each key press gives off a nice click and feels very satisfying. What's also very satisfying is the backlighting. There's different levels to choose from, but Lenovo has their light shift technology installed that lets you change the colors of the keys. There's 3 zones with 18 colors you can play around with, and you can really set the mood for the game you're playing. Now, like I mentioned before, the laptop's deck is made out of rubber, but just below the keyboard and around the touchpad, it gets even more grippy, which is great to rest your palms. The touchpad itself is a good size with lots of room to move around. It's not glass, but gestures and movements were accurate. Sound quality on the Y900 is fantastic, probably the best I've tested this year on a gaming laptop. The speakers are buried in the deck of the laptop, and there's a subwoofer underneath. The sound is by JBL and it's paired with Dolby's equalization settings. It gets really loud, the highs sound nice, and there's a bit of bass. I had no problems filling up the entire room with sound. The performance in the Y900 is great too, but it's using a GTX 980M when every other gaming laptop is being released with a 10 series graphics card. The 980M is a powerful card and can handle any games at 1080p just fine. However, I wish Lenovo stuck a 1070 in here, as the performance gains are significant along with being VR ready. There's a turbo boost button to increase the CPU speed from 3.6 to 4.1 GHz, and you can also jack up the GPU from 85 watts to 95 watts. All the games I played were set to 1080p and at their highest settings. The first game I tried was Overwatch, and I averaged frame rates of 90 frames per second when battles got intense. Doom, a more graphically intensive game, caps the FPS at the monitor's refresh rate of 75, which I had no problem maintaining. And finally, Crysis 3, a demanding game, averaged frame rates of 30 to 40 frames per second during battles when lots of things were going on. The bottom line is the Y900 will handle majority of games at 1080p comfortably. Under full load, the Y900 gets quite hot at the top of the deck around the speakers, reaching temperatures of 115 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 45 to 50 degrees Celsius. However, the keyboard area never gets too hot so that it's uncomfortable. The back of the laptop doesn't get as hot but still manages to reach temperatures of 110 degrees Fahrenheit or 43 degrees Celsius. It's not as bad as the GL702, and the heat seems to be accumulating near the vents, which means it's venting properly. In terms of battery life, I averaged 3.5 hours doing stuff like browsing the web, watching videos, and working in Google Docs. Playing games got me around 2 hours of use before needing a charge. Alright, so here's my closing thoughts. The Lenovo IdeaPad Y900 pretty much hits everything I want in a gaming laptop. A great display for gaming, fantastic audio quality, a good design, and mechanical keyboard. The only thing it's missing is a 10 series GPU. Don't get me wrong, the 980M is more than powerful enough to play most games comfortably at 1080p, but for the same price, I can buy a laptop such as the ASUS G752 with a 1070s graphics card and have significant performance gains. I think if you really want this laptop, you're better off waiting until Lenovo refreshes it with the latest 10 series GPUs. Now, rumors indicate they're planning on doing this sometime later this year. So that wraps up my review of the Lenovo IdeaPad Y900. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comments below. And if you have one already, let me know what you like or dislike about it. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And as always, I will see you in the next video.